What makes a duel? What makes a monster? Only those brave enough to go beyond their limits may find out. Yugioh Shokan! From a vortex of thunder, ascend now! Twin-headed Thunder Dragon!
Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. It's time once again for Patron Week, where votes are cast to see what archetype I can cover. If you'd like to join in on next month's voting, make sure to check out my Patreon, where you can choose from either Weather Painter, Earthbound Immortal, Lunalight, or Danger. This month, the majority vote went to Thunder Dragon, an unassuming monster were it not for their ability to thin your deck while obtaining the fusion material for one of the earliest and most powerful fusion monsters printed. But if that was all, it'd be little more than a fun piece of trivia on a Wikipedia article, a way to thin your deck while going +1 to help cover discard costs, and could easily fill your grave with light monsters. But in 2018, Soul Fusion debuted to the world and built an entirely new legacy for this old card. When its new support was released, it stood shoulder to shoulder with the toughest threats the format had to offer, becoming one of the 4 pillars of the largely loved and largely despised TOS format. We've talked about Sky Striker, but now it's time to cover the next member of this competitive pantheon. Let's review the source material, see how this modern spin powers up this dynamic dynamo, and see if there are any other design ideas we can bond with them. It's time to light up the sky with Thunder Dragon. But before we continue, I wanted to let you all know I'll be lending my voice to the Dragon Rider Championship Series 5 tournament on January 8th and 9th. I'll be providing color commentary alongside the host, YCS Extraordinaire, and Grand Maju Master, Yishan McNabb, along with other guests over the course of the event. For more details, check out Dragon Rider Games links in the description, because if you join in, there's the chance I'll pog out over your gameplay live. And while you're supporting Dragon Rider Games, you can also support me by clicking the like and subscribe buttons and joining my Discord, where we are talking about a lot of Florida-based Yu-Gi-Oh lore. Thank you all so much for watching, and now, back to the video. So, what's the deal with Thunder Dragon? Well, normally I'd go through the commonalities of the theme's monsters, but first it's really important we go over the original cards first. Thunder Dragon is a level 5 Light Thunder monster with 1600 attack and 1500 defense, and you can discard them to add up to 2 Thunder Dragons specifically from your deck to your hand. As mentioned previously, this does very little on its own. Having 2 level 5s in hand isn't appreciably better than having 1. But it does make for great discard fodder in this regard, and with the application of a polymerization, these two become Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, a level 7 Light Thunder fusion monster with 2800 attack and 2100 defense, requiring said 2 Thunder Dragons as material. So not only was it one of the most powerful fusions of its time, it was also the most cost-effective, as all you'd reasonably need was a single Thunder Dragon in hand and the poly. But its design is so bafflingly different, probably because they kept copying off of Two-Mouth Dark Ruler's homework. Very shameful behavior. Okay, so with that out of the way, what's really the deal with Thunder Dragon? Well, they're all Thunder types and are either Light or Dark attribute, and all the main deck monsters, at least the ones that can be normal summoned, have an effect that can be activated by discarding them, but also have another effect that triggers when sent from the field to the grave, or when banished from anywhere, and these 2 effects are mutually exclusive. You can only activate one of them per turn, and only once per turn. The first effect formatting makes sense, legacy-wise, but the second was probably just to open up some design space to power them up. Or maybe as a reference to how they were sent to the grave sometimes as cost for Chaos Monster summons. Who can say what labyrinthine machinations lie in the minds of Yu-Gi-Oh! R&D? Let's start by moving up the levels, starting with Thunder Dragon Matrix, a level 1 light monster with 0 attack and 2000 defense. As a quick effect, you can discard them to target a thunder monster you control and give it a lasting 500 attack boost. And if banished or sent from the field to the grave, you can add another copy of Thunder Dragon Matrix from your deck to your hand. That's astounding. They almost never let you use a search effect to find another copy of itself, which I suppose means they learned their lesson from Elemental Hero Stratos. Both effects are outstanding in the context of our theme. Having a discard effect at quick effect speed that's almost conditionless is integral for one of our fusions later on, and by banishing them, you just get another one. Alternatively, normal summoning them, then linking them off into All Mirage for effect destruction protection, or Link Haribo for battle protection, is a quick +1. And if you look closely enough at the art, you'll see there's a little Keanu Reeves in there. Oh, how precious. Thunder Dragon Dark is a level 5 Dark monster with 1600 attack and 1500 defense. As a quick effect, they can be discarded to add another copy of Thunder Dragon Dark from your deck to your hand. Dang, the self-searching just keeps coming. And if sent from the field to the grave or banished, you can add any Thunder Dragon card from your deck to your hand. Except another copy of itself. Oh well, it had to happen eventually. Now, the first effect might seem a little dirtily, like it just puts the same card back into your hand, but much like Matrix, it's important we have a way to discard at quick effect speed. Also, having Dark in grave helps set it up to be banished later, which is very important. With a theme like this, comprised of so many high-level monsters, being able to get the right card at the right time means Dragon Dark is here to help keep your prospects looking bright. Thunder Dragon Hawk is a level 6 light monster with 1800 attack and 2200 defense, and can be discarded to special summon a Thunder Dragon monster that is banished or is in your grave, except another copy of itself. And if sent from the field to the grave or banished, you can shuffle any number of cards from your hand into your deck, then draw that many cards. That's right, it's Magical Mallet. And while it's not beating out its discard effect anytime soon in terms of value, if you don't have a target for it and you desperately need to unbrick your hand, this is a pretty solid way to do it. And considering your deck is made of high-level monsters, well, any Monarch player will tell you how important that can be. In fact, if you can pull this off in a way that snatches victory from the jaws of defeat, you'll look quite talented. Thunder Dragon Roar is a level 6 Dark monster with 2400 attack and 0 defense, and can be discarded to add any of your Thunder Dragon cards from your grave or banished zone to your hand. And if sent from the field to the grave or banished, you can special summon a Thunder Dragon monster from your deck in defense position, but it's returned to the hand during the end phase. This is a nifty way to get more material onto the board as well as recycling cards. While adding back a monster will usually mean getting its discard effect again, you can also grab spells and traps, especially the theme's own fusion spell. Even the special summoning effect can help with fixing your hand as well, since the monster you summon returns to the hand during the end phase, giving you another card you can discard like Matrix or Dragon Dark. The amount of things you can accomplish with this card is scary. In fact, it's downright roarifying. Thunder Dragon Duo is a level 8 Dark monster with 2800 attack and 0 defense that can't be normal summoned or set. Instead, it must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing a light and a dark monster from your grave. Once per turn, if a monster effect is activated in the hand, Duo gains a 300 attack boost until the end of the turn. When they destroy an opponent's monster by battle, you can banish a card from your grave to add a Thunder monster from your deck to your hand. And once per turn, during your opponent's end phase, you can target one of your banished cards and either place it on top of or on the bottom of your deck. Whew, golly, that's a mouthful. And that's just the effects printed on the card. For instance, its summoning condition can effectively trigger 2 of your Thunder Dragon effects from the grave, as well as when you proc the search effect after destroying a monster by battle. And it even recycles banished cards. Not Thunder Dragon cards, cards. So not only can you recycle anything you splashed in to help the deck, it's one of the few cards that can interact with face-down banished cards. And if that wasn't enough, it only has to be first special summoned from the hand, meaning it can be brought back with Hawk or any other revival effect. That's a lot of overachieving for a single monster, which makes me think they're trying to chart their own course, which kinda makes sense. If you look at their art, they're a Red Eyes and a Blue Eyes monster, and I don't think they like living under their shadows. Thunder Dragon Lord is a level 9 light monster with 3000 attack and 2000 defense that also can't be normal summoned or set, and must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing a level 8 or lower Thunder monster from your hand or face-up field during the turn a Thunder monster's effect was activated in your hand, which begins to show why it's so important to have Thunder Dragons you can activate from your hand at will. And once per opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can banish any 2 cards from your grave, including at least 1 Thunder monster, then target a Thunder monster you control, and your opponent can't target it with card effects this turn. And once per turn, during your end phase, you can send a Thunder Dragon card from your deck to the grave. This will usually go towards making Lord's effect live, but it's a little misleading. While it provides targeting protection, it's only really going to work on those effects that are spell speed 1. Anything quicker that's already established means it can be chained to the effect. And you can't really chain Lord's effect to those kinds of effects, because by that point, the targeting's already happened. What might be more important, as we learned with Duo, is that they're a banishing outlet, doing so on your opponent's turn to get more Thunder Dragon effects off, or as a kind of starter, banishing any Thunder available while fielding a 3000 attack point beatstick. Good lord! Alright, now it's time for the fusion monsters. We've already gone over the OG, now let's cover Thunder Dragon Colossus, a level 8 dark monster with 2600 attack and 2400 defense, requiring the original Thunder Dragon and any other Thunder monster as material. They must either be fusion summoned, or special summoned during the turn a Thunder monster's effect was activated in the hand by tributing a non-fusion Thunder effect monster, in which case you don't use polymerization. While on the field, cards can't be added from the main deck to your opponent's hand except by drawing them, so no searching whatsoever. And if Colossus would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can simply banish a Thunder monster from your grave instead. Of all monsters in this theme, Colossus is probably the most well-known and infuriating. The continuous trap card Mistake was used in previous formats for similar deck lockdown purposes, but where that was a back row card that had a symmetrical effect, Colossus is a sizable monster that's fairly easy to summon. Discarding Hawk fulfills the first requirement, while putting a Thunder monster on board to tribute, which even triggers that Thunder Dragon's effect. And it's got destruction protection to boot, which ends up activating other Thunder Dragon effects when you use it. So it's not just a pile of shields you need to get through before you can finally slay the dragon, it actively retaliates when you do so. Now sure, there are a lot of ways to deal with it. Anything that negates effects like Infinite Impermanence, Forbidden Droplets, and Dark Ruler No More make Colossus just as vulnerable as any other monster, and non-destruction removal can be downright devastating. Things like Compulsory Evacuation Device, Kaijus, or Dingirsu. The problem is that if you don't hard open any of those answers, you aren't going to be able to add them to your hand, or use searching to set up your own game plan in the face of it. It leads to some very unfun game states, which is why it's been banned in the TCG for quite some time, and honestly, good riddance. I hope we never see that spiky lightning noodle ever again.
Alright.
Next we have Thunder Dragon Titan, a level 10 light monster with 3200 attack and defense, requiring 3 Thunder Dragon monsters as material. They must be fusion summoned, or through an alternate means, like Colossus. For Titan, you have to banish a Thunder monster from your hand, and a Thunder fusion monster you control, except a copy of Titan. When a Thunder monster's effect is activated in the hand, even during the damage step, as a quick effect, you can destroy a card on the field. And if Titan would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish 2 cards from your grave instead. If Colossus was the means by which you stun your opponent, then Titan is the one that helps you close out games. Their large stat line means very little will get in their way, and turns your in-hand Thunder Dragons into removal. Especially tricky removal if we factor in Matrix and Dragon Dark being able to activate on our opponent's turn to interrupt them. And it's not once per turn, so the more Thunders you can activate, the more cards you can smash. But be careful, because this effect can, funnily enough, miss timing. For instance, let's say you activate Matrix, targeting the Titan. Now, because of how priority works, once you activate the effect, your opponent is given the chance to respond. If they don't, then you can resolve Titan normally, activating its effect as a quick effect in response to having activated a Thunder monster's effect in hand. However, should your opponent respond with literally anything that isn't their own Thunder monster's effect in hand, the last thing that happened was that activation, and not the Thunder monster's activation in hand. So when priority is passed back around to you, activating Titan is no longer a valid action. See, isn't learning the deep, counterintuitive nature of when effects in Yu-Gi-Oh! Fun? That may be our last fusion we have, but it's not our last extra deck monster. Thunder Dragon Thunderstorm Mech is a Link 4 light monster with 2800 attack, requiring 2 or more Thunder monsters as material. During your main phase, if you control this Link summoned card, you can target one of your Thunder monsters that are banished or are in your grave, and apply that monster's effect that discards itself to activate, then place that monster on the top or bottom of your deck. Keep in mind that while Thunderstorm Mech can only use this effect once per turn, you don't have to worry about similar restrictions from your other Thunder Dragons where this effect is concerned, because it's not their effect that's activating, it's Thunderstorm Mech's. And if any number of Thunder monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish 3 cards from your grave instead. So not only does this monster help you access even more of your effects, even going so far as letting you activate 2 of the same effect in a turn, it also recycles those monsters to use later. And blanket destruction protection for your thunders is nothing to sneeze at either, though you will burn through your grave pretty quickly if you keep applying this. The biggest issue is its summoning requirements. Gathering 4 thunder monsters together is kind of a chore, though thankfully we have things like Batteryman Solar and some Summer Summoner to help with gathering the materials. It's got some good utility, but might not always be relevant considering how many resources you need to commit to it. And honestly, it just seems like a pain to use them too. Like, all this tech is just being jammed into its body. That's gotta hurt. Alright, now it's time for the spells and traps. Summoning Titan is more difficult now than it's been in the past because you no longer have access to Colossus as a bridge. Thankfully, Kaminari attack by way of ready and instant fusion can fulfill the fusion requirement, but why not bypass that entirely with Thunder Dragon Fusion? It's a normal spell that fusion summons any Thunder Fusion monster from your extra deck, from among your cards on the field, in your grave, and or face-up banished cards. During your main phase, except the turn this was sent to the grave, you can banish fusion from your grave to add any Thunder monster from your deck to your hand. Not Thunder Dragon, Thunder monsters. True, the pool is pretty small, but even just being able to search your own theme is fantastic. Coupled with even more recycling while making your fusions basically for free, and being searchable off of Dragon Dark's banish effect, and can be put back into your hand from the grave or banished zone by Dragon Roar's discard effect, and you've got a card with a shocking amount of value. Next is Thunder Dragon's 100 Thunders, a normal trap that targets a thunder monster in your grave and special summons it. Then you can special summon as many monsters with that same name as possible from your grave. The monsters special summoned by this effect are banished when they leave the field, and while they're on the field, you can't special summon monsters except thunders. This is possibly the best way to gain access to Storm Mech, summoning a bunch of material you can link off with, which can then recycle whatever ends up getting banished. And once again, even if you can't mitigate that, they'll still trigger their effects when banished, so it's still not even a big deal. This doesn't see a lot of play, and I can see why. Trap cards are already a pretty hard sell, combined with its narrow application, but I still find it to be incredibly powerful, even if it isn't useful 100% of the time. Our last card is Thunder Dragon Discharge, a continuous trap that keeps the activation of our Thunder monsters' effects from being negated. Once per turn, if any number of Thunder Dragon monsters are normal or special summoned to your field, you can target a spell or trap card on the field, banish a Thunder monster from your deck, and if you do, destroy that target. I think this is actually pretty nice. Another way to rip cards away from your opponent simply by summoning your monsters is a great way to get rid of possible retaliations or support cards. And banishing a Thundera at the same time is just gravy. The continuous effect is not quite as good as it might seem. If it stopped our opponent from activating cards in response to the activation of our Thunder monster's effects, it would guarantee that Titan would resolve without a hitch. However, even if they chain something as non-negation related as possible, like Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, the effect will still miss timing. Heck, it doesn't even stop our opponent from negating the card altogether, because it only stops the activation from being negated. But if you activate a Dragon Dark and your opponent chains Ash Blossom, technically it just negates the effect, not the activation, so it can stop the search and the Titan pop. However, it's not all bad, as this still does count as a Thunder monster activating its effect, so for the purpose of Titan and Lord summoning conditions, that all checks out. However, it's a lot of work, and the space it takes up in your deck can most likely be used better by other cards, so it's getting dishonorably discharged. Okay, so that's all the Thunder Dragon cards, but what do we do with them? Well, when armed with Colossus, the control role was pretty set in stone, limiting our opponent's actions with it while grinding out advantage, using Titan to keep our opponent's game plan from getting off the ground while assembling lethal. However, that's no longer the case, and with Titan being more difficult to summon now than it's ever been, we want to end the game as soon as possible, using Titan when we can and having Duo provide offensive pressure. But what can we play to help them out? Well, with our abundance of level 5 and higher monsters, we'll need a few starters that can utilize our normal summon. As previously mentioned, Batteryman Solar can hit the field and Foolish a Thunder, setting it up to be banished later, as well as making a token when we summon another Thunder to help us get into Link monsters. Another useful summon is Aloof Lupine. While not a Thunder itself, it can banish a monster in hand to banish a monster of the same type out of your deck on normal summon, which can trigger 2 Thunder Dragon effects, which isn't a bad way to start your plays. And since Thunder Dragon Fusion can search any thunder, it might be good to consider some off-theme options. Denko Sekka, for instance, can lock down back row heavy decks, and since our normal summon isn't a huge concern, committing to it doesn't impact us as much. In a similar vein, Lightning Rod Lord locks out spell activations during main phase 1. This means it effectively negates Pot of Extravagance, though Prosperity is a different beast altogether. The important thing is that it stops your opponent from using them to gain an advantage during the following battle phase. While they were going to miss out on battle damage anyway, Dark Ruler No More can't be used to make monsters vulnerable to battle destruction, so they can be run over. The Chaos Creator, in my opinion, is an honorary Thunder Dragon. It has the same summon requirements as Duo, is a Thunder monster, and can be used to summon our Thunder Dragons right out of the banished zone while recycling 2 more. If we want access to non-destruction removal that's difficult to interact with, searching Thunder Lord, the Lightning Strike Kaiju, is a great way to do it. And if you want to prevent some of those summons before they happen, Thunder King Ryo is still here for you. It even provides a deck lockdown effect. Sure, it's easier to out, and locks both players out of searching, but nevertheless, it's there. As for a silly tech pick, I think...
No, stop it right there. I'm not standing for this anymore.
Is that Tatsym? Avowed Colossus truther and competitive bad boy?
Oh, you bet it is. And I'm here to show you what real Thunder Dragon knowledge looks like.
Oh, by all means, go right ahead.
Oh, I was expecting a little bit more resistance.
And I was expecting you to evangelize about how Colossus is coming off the Forbidden and Limited list.
I mean, in nowadays meta, the card can be outed by Dark Ruler No More, Forbidden Droplets, Nibiru, cards we didn't have back then. But anyway, a tech pick for this deck, in my opinion, is the Sea Monster of Theseus. You're probably already running Instant Fusion and Kaminari attack, so Ready Fusion added as well. It's a really nice combo for the deck. The Sea Monster of Theseus is a level 5 tuner, which makes it possible to make Tolkien with Thunder Dragon Dark and with Theseus, which is really nice. So you can set your Thunder Dragon Fusion, which is searched off the dark, to make a Crystal Wing or Power Tool Dragon or Synchro Dragon. And you can nicely link away the token for Verte afterwards. You can also combo the old-fashioned way and just synchro summon Thunder Dragon Dark and Theseus for Baron de Fleur, which is a very powerful card that can negate anything and destroy a card on the field. So that's pretty good.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, no problem, man. And if I ever hear you say anything bad about Colossus again or say that it has to stay banned, I'm gonna send mean tweets about you.
Well, that was vaguely threatening, and that was all I had to say about Thunder Dragons. Even without the wonderful static snack that is Colossus, it's got a lot of funky plays at its disposal. They can field big monsters that are difficult to chew through, and they're rife with effects that jam up your opponent's plays, making for a combination of aggro and stun that come together to form a perfect storm. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Do you think Thunder Dragon can come back to strike twice, or are their prospects looking a little cloudy? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone you know that likes Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. And of course, a huge thanks goes to Noajenk for doing his dramatic reading of his Progression Poles Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon Summon Chant, as well as the author of the chant and associated fan art illustrator Double. And let's not forget Tatsym for showing up to preach the good word of Colossus. All of their links can be found in the description. Today's episode was brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commander, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Nebula Navigators, Adam Zajdel, Benjamin Meisner, Blake Talberth, Eric, Gloomba331, Howling Zangetsu, John Manji, Maven, Panther J, Shooting Star 3300, The Wizard Moose and the Fresh Prince of Conair, Cosmic Crusaders, Bear Sharktopus Studios, Jazz Ghost, Colin Todd, George Schaefer and the Legendary Raven, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to be a part of these credits as well as help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, please check out my YouTube membership or Patreon links in the description to see if I have anything you'd like on offer. And if you want to see another deck that can make good use of Thunder Dragon Fusion, check out this video I did on Prank Kids. And if you want to see two Yu-Gi tubers going at it, check out Noajenk and I's latest series, Progression Poles, where your voice shapes the format. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
PogChamp.